If you want to test whether early humans were merely lucky or genuinely skilled, forget hunting megafauna for a moment and focus on sleep. You can survive hunger for days, you can endure exhaustion for a while, but lose heat while unconscious in sub-zero conditions, and you die quietly before morning. Ice Age humans faced this risk every night for thousands of years, often without permanent shelters, metal tools, or tailored clothing. The fact that they not only survived but expanded across Eurasia during repeated glacial periods tells us something essential. Their sleeping systems were deliberate, refined, and brutally effective. This was not improvisation. It was cold-weather engineering learned through generations of trial, error, and loss. They began by treating sleep as a collective survival activity rather than a personal one. Archaeological evidence from Upper Paleolithic sites shows clustered sleeping areas, not scattered individuals. Humans slept together to pool body heat, a method that dramatically reduces heat loss through convection. This behavior mirrors what modern cold-weather survival studies confirm. Shared body heat can raise ambient sleeping temperatures by several degrees. A practical application today is simple but often ignored. In extreme cold, isolating yourself may feel comfortable psychologically, but physically it increases risk. Ice Age groups understood this at a visceral level. The ground was never treated as a neutral surface. Cold rises from below faster than it escapes upward, and Ice Age humans countered this with layered insulation. Sleeping areas were built atop thick beds of grasses, reeds, moss, and animal hides. At sites like Donji Vestanec and Kostenki, compressed plant fibers beneath living floors indicate repeated use and renewal. These layers trapped air, which is the true insulator. Anyone applying this knowledge today should focus first on insulating beneath the body before adding top coverings. A thick layer of dry vegetation or modern foam does more than any blanket alone. Animal skins were used with an understanding of orientation and layering. Fur faced inward to trap warm air, while hide faced outward to block wind and moisture. Multiple skins were overlapped rather than spread flat, reducing gaps where heat could escape. This is functionally identical to modern layering systems. One hide alone was not enough. The effectiveness came from combination and compression. A survivalist today can replicate this by layering natural or synthetic materials, rather than relying on a single, thick covering. So, fire was used carefully, not constantly. Ice Age hearths were often placed near sleeping areas, but not directly beside them. Fire provides radiant heat, but it also, consumes oxygen and produces smoke. Humans learned to balance warmth with breathability. In caves and shelters, fires were allowed to burn down before sleep, leaving embers that radiated steady heat without sparks or heavy smoke. This created a thermal buffer, rather than a furnace. The modern lesson here is restraint. Overheating a shelter can lead to moisture buildup, and later on, hypothermia when temperatures drop. Shelter construction really prioritized wind control over enclosure. Ice Age huts made from mammoth bone, wood, and hides were often low, rounded, and partially dug into the ground. This reduced the surface area exposed to wind and stabilized internal temperatures. Snow was sometimes piled against the outer walls, acting as insulation rather than a threat. Snow traps air and blocks wind better than bare hide. A practical modern step is using snow, earth, or debris to reinforce shelters, instead of trying to seal them airtight. Clothing remained on during sleep. There is no evidence of specialized nightwear, because honestly, removing layers wastes heat. Garments made from hide, sinew, and fur were worn continuously, with adjustments rather than removal. Damp items were dried by the fire before sleep whenever possible. Moisture was recognized as a killer long before anyone understood microbes or evaporation. Applying this today means sleeping in dry layers, even if that means delaying rest to manage moisture first. Diet played a critical role in nighttime survival. Ice Age humans consumed calorie-dense foods in the evening, particularly fat from animals like mammoth, bison, and reindeer. Fat digestion produces sustained heat over hours, not just minutes. This internal heat generation allowed the body to maintain core temperature during those long, cold nights. A modern equivalent is eating a high-fat, high-protein meal before sleeping in cold conditions. Hunger is not just uncomfortable in the cold, it is actually dangerous. Sleep posture itself really mattered. People curled their bodies, reduced exposed surface area, and used their limbs to trap warmth close to the torso. This instinctive behavior aligns perfectly with heat conservation principles taught in modern survival training. It is not accidental. It is learned behavior, passed down through observation and correction. What makes Ice Age sleep remarkable is not any single technique but actually the system as a whole. Social structure, shelter design, clothing, fire use, diet and posture all worked together. Remove one element, and survival became uncertain. Keep them aligned, and humans endured conditions that would kill an unprepared modern person in just a few hours. For historians, this totally reframes Ice Age humans as thermal engineers rather than lucky primitives. For survivalists, it is a reminder that cold kills through neglect of basics, not dramatic failure. These people didn't beat the cold with technology, they beat it with understanding. If you value this kind of grounded, evidence-based look at how humans actually survived the past, subscribe to Strange History, share this with someone who underestimates ancient intelligence, and keep learning. The Ice Age may be over, but its lessons are still very much alive.